silence. Skimming through a verse to rehearse from closed eyelids. Without a thought in mind, I shine through the lines. Thoughts combined, causing me to spit.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your boy Chris B. Daniels once again, and you are on another episode of Show and Talk. Tonight's movie is a 1995 classic. It made $3.5 million in the box office. Not sure, if that's a success or not because I'm not sure what the movie's budget was. But to me, it was a pretty good film. It's one of my favorite movies actually. And that is New Jersey Drive, starring Sharon Corley as Jason Petty. All right, so if you've seen this movie, then to me, it's one of the more, it's definitely a hood film, you know what I'm saying? It has a lot, you know what I'm saying? It can be intense at times, you know what I mean? And at times it's lighthearted moments. Like, there's a couple scenes where they joking around with each other. And the scene after where, Jason, you know what I'm saying, almost gets shot by his ex homeboy or whatever. You know what I mean? And they was joking with him in the car and all that, you know what I'm saying, about that situation. And it's like, damn. It was like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, they supposed to be your homeboys and all that, and they making jokes about you almost getting popped. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's got some lighthearted moments, but then it has this very intense moments. Like there's a scene where him and Midget are walking down the street, and that's played by your boy. You know what I'm saying? That was in Lockdown. You know what I'm saying? He was also in what's that movie? What's it called? Bedazzled. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, they was walking down the street, and then Jason was drinking, and then the cop pulled up on him, you know what I'm saying? Trying to force them to, dump the alcohol or whatever because they were underage. So as soon as Jason told the chick, man, F her, you know what I'm saying? She, her whole demeanor changed, and she called for backup. And then that's when Jason ran off, and then they got Midget, you know what I'm saying? They beat him down in the alley. And so later on that night, because he was knocked out for a minute. So later on, he's waking up in the alley. And then he goes back to where, they drop beer and all that. And so, I guess he's trying to get his thoughts together and everything. And then Jason shows back up because, to be honest with you, that was a realistic situation. Like, I mean, you supposed to have your homeboy back and all that, but I think a lot of people would have ran off like Jason did and then come back later, to check on you or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because the cops were, they were crooked in this movie. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. Because they beat him down and just left him there. You know what I'm saying? So, and then you got this one cop in the movie named Lieutenant Roscoe. You know what I'm saying? Yo, dude was a straight up asshole, yo. Piece of shit. Like, he put hands on Jason at least 2 or 3 times, you know what I'm saying, in their encounters. So it was one encounter where Jason's just walking down the street or whatever, right, minding his own business, and then they pull up on him, and so they put him in the back of the cop car, you know what I'm saying, and so he's sitting there waiting on, waiting to be cleared and everything, and then Roscoe shows up, and him and Jason starts talking. So Roscoe finally lets him go. And then, but before he lets him go, he calls out Jason. Jason turns around and Roscoe straight up decks him in the eye. You know what I'm saying? And so later on, because this whole movie's crazy, right? So it's just basically a bunch of teenagers just making bad decision after bad decision. You know what I'm saying? But hey, I mean, I guess that's what they did. That was a little pastime in New Jersey. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I didn't grow up in Jersey because from what I heard, that's what they, did back in the day. So, jacking cars and all that. But I don't know because I didn't grow up there. So I don't know what went down in Jersey. But my thing is, I say this movie is not really that violent. You know what I'm saying? There was a couple fight scenes. Mainly, it was like one intense fight scene where Jason was cool with this dude named Richie. And so Jason spotted his sister on the corner or whatever. Well, no, his sister was hanging out with these other two girls, you know what I'm saying? Like in the little spot they be in. And then Jason, spots her or whatever and pulls her out of the little group she was in and then telling her to go home and all that. And then that's when Richie interfered, you know what I'm saying? And then Jason's basically wanting Richie to back off. So Richie winds up, he gets hyped up by his homeboys or whatever because you hear one of them say, yo, hit this nigga, you know what I'm saying? So Richie hits Jason, and then Jason turns around, just straight up, beat the shit, he beats the shit out. I can't talk, y'all. He beats the shit out of Richie, you know what I'm saying? So later on, a few days later or whatever, that's when Richie pulls up on him, you know what I'm saying? And he starts shooting at Jay, you know what I mean? So Jason is running. At that point, there was nowhere left for him to go, you know what I'm saying? Because the cops were looking for him. Richie was trying to kill him. So, and then that goes back to the scene I was talking about earlier where they was riding around, joking on him or whatever, clowning him about him almost getting shot. And so, later on, because there was like many different scenes where people was getting their cars jacked. You know what I'm saying? One dude got his Lexus taken in the parking lot of a grocery store, you know what I'm saying, by Midget. Because at that point, Midget, it seemed like he had enough, you know what I'm saying? He had bills to pay. He wasn't working or nothing like that, you know what I'm saying? That was just, him doing what he did for a living. And so, he got paid for it. And then Jason shows up at his house later after that incident. He's all pissed off or whatever because I don't blame him, to be honest with you, because Midget didn't tell him what he was about to do. You know what I mean? So basically, it wasn't the okie doke or nothing. He ain't set him up, but he just caught Jason off guard, you know what I'm saying, by taking that dude's car and not saying nothing. And so they caught, the cops, of course, caught all of this on camera. But they had another homeboy or whatever. I forget his name. But this was like early on in the movie where him and Jason are riding around in a car late at night. And then it's like on the top of the hill or whatever, you can see these cops just sitting up there chilling or whatever or socializing. So when they come around the corner in the view of the cops, that's when one of the cops, Roscoe, of course, spots the car which belonged to him. And so they shot off the hubcap. And then I think it was like 3 or 4 additional shots. And I think Peanut it's not Peanut, but his homeboy, you know what I'm saying? I forgot what his name was, but he got hit. And Jason pulled him out the car, and then they made it back to his apartment or whatever. So dude that came out of the apartment seen what happened, right? Because he was like, slapped in the against the wall. And so they pulled him in. So he winds up going to the hospital. So he's pretty much in the hospital for the rest of the movie. And so, like I said, it's a lot that happens. You know what I'm saying? You had your boy in this movie, Donald Faison, homeboy that was in Remember the Titans, Clueless, the movies. You know what I mean? He played Tiny. You know what I'm saying? And so he got killed by the cops because he was trying to they had caught up with him at I think they was in front of a bodega or something, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure where they were. They was in front of a store, and so Tiny was about to leave, and so the cops had cornered him, but he was trying to escape. He did, you know what I'm saying? He got through these 2 parked cars, and a cop car just came out of nowhere and sideswiped him and killed him instantly, you know what I'm saying? So they were basically taking these dudes out, you know what I mean? Taking these teenagers out. But there's one scene in the movie. If you've seen this movie, I think you know what I'm about to talk about. So there's one scene in the movie where Richie, Jason, and Midget steal a cop car. And they're riding around in it. So they turn the lights on or whatever so they can speed up past everybody else. And they come across this truck full of white boys, right? You know what I'm saying? These white dudes. And Midget gets on the walkie-talkie and starts saying little things to him by telling them to get out the truck, put their hands up, You know what I mean? And the way he was saying it was freaking hilarious, yo. And so at the end, he like, you got the right to be stupid MFers, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. But and then when they pulled up on the dudes, the white boys is looking at them like, yo, they were shocked, you know what I'm saying? And then they start laughing at them and all that, and then they sped off. So a few days later, you know what I'm saying? This is I think Peanut was the dark skinned dude with the black and white jacket. You know what I'm saying? He approached the Jeep they was driving in, and they told him like he asked him like, "Yo, y'all crazy?" Because basically Richie went around telling everybody what they did, and so once again they got pulled up on by the cops. You know what I'm saying? And they all got arrested, and so the cops was trying to figure out who took the cop car. You know what I'm saying? So for some reason, at first, she felt like they was targeting Jason because that's the first dude they brought into the precinct, and they put him on a bench with the sign around his neck saying, "What's my real name?" And then here you go, Lieutenant Roscoe walks in, and so Roscoe brings him into, I guess his office or whatever, and Jason is just sitting there in the chair. You know what I'm saying? And Roscoe just grabs him out of nowhere and just throws him to the floor, picks him up, jacks him up against the wall, then punches him in the eye again. You know what I mean? So, yo, Jason was like a punching bag in this movie, man. Like, he was just getting it from everybody. It was a scene where his mother smacked him, you know, from because of the way he was talking to her. You know what I mean? He was messed up most of the movie, like black eyes and all of that. But you know what I mean? The crazy part is the scene where Peanut got killed by the cops, right? Because they was trying to steal this van or whatever, or this SUV, but they was unsuccessful. You know what I'm saying? Because Peanut, he couldn't disable the alarm, and so the cops showed up because they was looking at him the whole time anyway. Roscoe, and I swear to God, Roscoe was stalking Jason. You know what I'm saying? But um, they was pretty much looking at him the whole time. So that's when Jason got busted for the last time, and that's how he ended up in juvie. And he was in there for 3 months. You know what I'm saying? So once he got out, you know, he was trying to chill out, and he wasn't doing the things he was doing before he went in. So he met back up with Midget. You know, they had a little talk, and then Midget went off with his homeboys. And then later on that night, Jason sitting in the car with his girl. You know what I'm saying? And they talking about, you know, I guess just life in general or whatever. And then some dudes pull up on him and rolled up on him and jacked her mother's car. You know what I'm saying? She was pissed. So Midget comes back later on that night trying to figure out, you know, who did it. But Jason, he just wasn't with all that anymore. You know what I'm saying? So that's when Midget backed off and got in the van. And that was the last time Jason seen him, yo, alive. And I know it's a spoiler, but this movie came out back in '95, so hey, what can you do? But anyway, not long after that, that's when you find out that the van that Midget was driving, you know what I'm saying, had crashed because it was shot up by the cops over 30 times. And so Jason saw all of this on the news. So pretty much, I don't know if he was the only one left out of his crew that survived. I think Richie might have survived. He might have got busted or something. I don't know, but it seemed like Jason was the only one left at that point. You know what I mean? So he decides to go back to school. And that's pretty much the end of the movie, man. If you haven't seen it, like I said, it's a good film. I'm telling you. And if I got to give it a score, New Jersey Drive is one of my favorite films. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? The reason why is because I will say this. They were making a lot of dumb decisions, though. You know what I'm saying? And there was one scene that, you know, I wanted to talk about that I left out. I forgot to talk about it. It's the scene where they were on top of this roof and Jason and the dudes were talking, you know what I'm saying, on one side, and Midget was standing there looking over the roof with a revolver. You know what I'm saying? And so he was following the cop car with the revolver, and he started shooting at it. You know what I'm saying? Then they all ran off. That scene was crazy. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, 8.5. I left out that 5% because, like I said, no movie yet has got a 10 from me. Not yet. Even though this is one of my favorite films, I have to give it an 8.5 because of the decisions they were making were pretty dumb. You know what I mean? I will admit that. But if you're watching this on YouTube, give me a like, comment, and subscribe. I will greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate you guys. And right now, I'm up to 555 subscribers. I know I'm still a small channel and everything, but I appreciate every single last one of y'all that subscribed to my channel. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to do that, but I just wanted to take this time to thank y'all. You know what I'm saying? Everybody. But I'm about to jump off of here, y'all. I got a few things to do, about to eat. You know what I'm saying? Hungry as a mug. But I'll get back up with y'all later on, all right? Alrighty. Peace.
The feeling is mutual. Come in, take a seat, share your thoughts with each, and preach it when you speak, so we can share kinetic energy throughout the brainwave. Keep us balanced out and all on the same thing.